All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So great to see so many of you here. We are really excited to spend the next 45 to 60 minutes with you talking about one of the most effective ways to improve your lead generation results, A/B testing. We are all spending a lot of time and money driving traffic from paid ads, social, or any other channel. And of course, we want that traffic to actually convert. And that's where optimizing your landing pages and forms with A/B testing can really move the needle. That's why we have a full packed agenda for you today. First, we'll cover some fundamentals of A/B testing. So from setting up an A/B test to interpreting the results. Then we'll show you how to run A/B tests directly in Heyflow. And by the end, we'll hope you'll know how to run a test yourself and you will feel confident optimizing your lead funnels for better results. And of course, we'll answer all your burning questions at the end. So please make sure to use the Q&A function here in Zoom. And we can come back to those questions at the end. Before we dive right in, let me briefly introduce the speakers for you today. So my name is Sarah, and some of you might already recognize me from our previous webinars. I'm the product marketing manager here at Heyflow, where I focus on helping businesses optimize their landing pages and forms. And I'm super excited because joining me today is Connor, our product manager, who is the mastermind behind everything related to our analytics and integrations. So he makes sure our Heyflow's analytics features help you get the value with useful insights and the easy integrations that you need to keep your funnel all together. And together we'll walk you through A/B testing and how to start optimizing with Heyflow. Connor, how are you today?
I'm very good. I'm excited to join my first Heyflow webinar. Looking forward to the questions you have, so please do share them. We always are interested in your viewpoint, and if you have any questions, we'll be eager to answer them. But yeah, looking forward to showing you off A/B testing and talking about it today.
Thank you. Sounds great. Yeah, I can't wait for your demoing. But first, let's start at the very beginning. What is A/B testing? Essentially, it's a method of comparing two versions of a landing page or a form under the same conditions and at the same time. And in an ideal case, we are comparing just a single specific element on the page. This can be, for example, a CTA button or an image or a headline, whatever you want to test to determine which one performs better. And by doing this, we then can identify weak points, and it can also lead to better conversions from our visitors, hopefully, because that's the goal in the end, right? And why is A/B testing so important? Why are we even talking about this today? Because quite frankly, our instincts are often wrong. Our gut feeling is not a reliable data source. We might believe that a particular headline or maybe a form design works better, but real-world data frequently proves us wrong, even here at Heyflow. So A/B testing allows us to gather real data and make informed decisions based on what actually works, rather than relying just on our own opinions and assumptions. Another major advantage is that we learn directly from our own target audience. So instead of applying generic best practices, which I have to admit are a good starting point when you are just starting out, we tailor our optimizations to the specific users that we want to convert, because we all know that lead generation is rarely a one-size-fits-all solution, and it varies by audience and industry. So just a few key benefits for A/B testing: higher conversion rates through small iterative adjustments that lead to more leads and sale. Improved user experience, allowing us to better understand our ideal user journey, and data-driven decision-making, ensuring that we rely on facts rather than our gut feeling. And however, the benefits A/B testing can only be realized if we understand how our tests perform, and if we have a way to measure our success or also unsuccess, right? And we have a few key metrics that we think we always should track. Obviously, a no-brainer, our conversion rate. So how many visitors become leads or paying customers, or however you defined your lead generation efforts. Is it that you want them to book a call, or maybe you want them to sign up for a trial. So that's our conversion rate here. Then our bounce rate, so how many users leave immediately after just coming to your landing page without interacting. So they are not clicking, they are not scrolling, they come and they go. That's really important also to understand, because it can also pinpoint some technical issues. And then the drop-off rate, so at what stage do users abandon the process? Is it on the landing page? Is it maybe in the form, or maybe just right submission? Identifying these weak points, will help us improve. And then last but not least, user engagement. And this can be a lot of different metrics. So these can be the clicks on the elements, it can be the time spent on the page, it can be the scroll depth, and all those metrics provide insights into how users really interact with our content. So by tracking these metrics, we can pinpoint issues, optimize effectively, and also, really nice, generate new A/B testing ideas for a continuous cycle of A/B testing. Now let's get a bit more practical here. So let's walk through how to set up a real A/B test. And the first thing you need is a concrete example to illustrate the process. So we have a scenario here. Imagine that you notice that your landing page gets plenty of traffic, which is great, but only a few people are actually starting the form. And you're wondering, is the CTA button maybe the problem here? Maybe get started feels too generic, and you want to test if a different copy performs better. So that's our scenario, and let's dive into the process we would follow in this kind of situation. Yeah, let's start with, step one, obviously. First, define your goal and success metrics. So before we dive into anything, we need to ask ourselves, what's the goal of this test? In this case, the goal is likely to increase the number of people clicking the CTA button on the landing page. So the success metric would be exactly those CTA clicks that we want, or perhaps starting a form if we have integrated a form into our landing page. So I need to make sure I can track this. And yeah, that becomes my primary metric, my main goal, basically. And the main goal usually is the metric that is directly influenced by my test setup. And ideally, though, I also look at what happens next. So are there any secondary metrics impacted, like form submissions or actions further down the user funnel? If I'm testing in a tool like Heyflow, for example, and testing a button label, I definitely still want to track how many of those who clicked actually become paying customers, or even just trial users, because that way I can make sure I don't see a positive result in my primary metric, but end up with fewer conversions overall due to lack of information or any other factor. So secondary metrics are definitely important. And in our scenario here, this could be the form submissions, the drop-off rates, and also the bounce rates. That are things I would consider to make sure everything works across the board. All right, the second step, choose your variable. For example, on a landing page, obviously you have so many opportunities and options here to pick something. So this could be the headline, the CTA button, the page layout even, if you want to be more radical in your testing. On a form, it could be the length, or maybe the order of the steps, or the way you ask questions. So there are endless options of what you can test actually. Ideally, you should test only one element at a time in each A/B test, because if you change multiple things at once, it will be really hard to pinpoint what actually made the difference. Doesn't matter if positive or negative here. And in our example, the goal is pretty clear. We want more clicks on our CTA, so the CTA button is our variable. But we are only choosing the CTA text as our variable, because if we also would change the design, we would already introduce too many changes at once. So we focus only on the text and not the color or anything else here. Next, we need to put our hypothesis into a clear format. So this is basically where you write down what you expect from the test and why you think it will work. And at Heyflow, we use the if, then, because format to structure those. This ensures that, first of all, the test setup, then the expected outcome, and also the reasoning are all included. So for example, if we change the button text to try for free, then more users will click the CTA to start the form because they will better understand the benefit they are getting. This is a great exercise actually to also keep you focused on just one variable, because it can be very tempting to change more than one thing at a time, because we know we all want results and we want them quickly and we want everything at once. But this is a great exercise really that keeps you from doing that. And also it helps you document the test so that you can refer to back to it later. All right, now you've defined the goal, the variable, the hypothesis. It's time to decide how to allocate the traffic between version A and version B. And you might think it's obvious, 50-50, right? And in many cases, it works well. But you have to also think that traffic split affects the test accuracy, the speed, and risk. So for example, if I'm testing something very risky, like a completely new approach in a contact form, that's already kind of converting well, it might make sense to only send like a small amount of traffic to the new version just to protect my existing conversion rate while I still collect data. So let's take a look at a few approaches here. The 50-50 split, that's clear, that's our standard approach and best for when you want quick results. Neither version carries a significant risk, and that means both versions receive equal traffic, so you get a balanced comparison. If you're testing a bold or high risk change, as I said, for example, with a new design in the form or anything that feels riskier, start by sending a small portion of your traffic to the new version. This helps minimize risk while gathering still data on the new variation. And then if you are confident that your new variation will perform quite well, but you still want to test cautiously, you can go for a gradual rollout. So start small with a lower percentage of traffic going to the new version, and then increase traffic as you gain confidence in the results. So 2 things to keep in mind. Smaller traffic splits are great for experimental tests, where you want to test new ideas with lower risk of negatively impacting your results. And larger splits are better when you're confident that neither version is too risky and you want faster insights. But what is also important to keep in mind is that smaller traffic splits generally mean that your test will take longer to reach statistical significance, because you have to really make sure that you have a high enough volume of traffic, or that you're also planning in that the test will have a longer duration. All right, step 5. Step 5 is all about the test setup and quality assurance, because before you're starting your test, it's critical to check that everything works as expected, because this ensures that your data, that you get the data you need and you don't waste time on setup errors. So let's take a look at a few things that you should do before launching your test. Traffic distribution. So that means you should preview your variations, and most test setups allow you to run checks. So open the test in multiple private browser tabs to ensure you reassign to either your version A or your version B correctly. This will also help you confirm that randomization is working properly and the test is being split as intended. So for example, if you have a 50-50 split, this is also how you should see the test then in your preview. Test across multiple devices and browsers. So don't just use your own laptop and your default browser. Check your test on Chrome, Safari, Firefox, whatever is out there, as well as on different sizes. So your laptop, mobile, and even a tablet if you have it at hand, to ensure that there are no technical issues that could skew the results. And also just to make sure that everything looks as beautiful as intended. And then verify that tracking is working. So really double check that your tracking setup is properly implemented. So that means when you're also previewing your versions, go through the whole funnel, submit your form, and check that it actually reaches your analytics in the end, so that you really can make sure that everything works the way it should work. And then, of course, you also want to make sure that you're cleaning those check data, those test data. And also, if you're running multiple tests on the same page, make sure that any previous test data is cleared, because this ensures that your new test is not impacted by any old data, and you can start with a clean slate. So yeah, by ensuring everything is set up correctly, you'll avoid unnecessary errors that could, in the end, give you some misleading results. And finally, you need to consider how long the test will run and how much traffic you expect. So we have a tool that we recommend. You might have heard of it already. It's called Spiro. I will share the link, later when I'm done with my part in the chat, so you can take a look. It's a free tool. You don't even need to sign up or log into anything, and it's really easy to use. So if you see here, I'm in the pre-test analysis tab, and you can basically input your traffic data and see how long you need to run your test for statistically significant results. For example, if you're here in our example generating 5,000 visitors per week and getting 1,000 conversions, which is a nice 20% conversion rate, you can input those numbers and then estimate how much of a result you need for your test to be reliable. So the tool will tell you the minimum detectable effect, the MDE, for different test durations. So if we are looking at the example here, let's say I want the test to run for 2 weeks. I'm getting 5,000 visitors per variant, which is the amount we have here from our traffic. And then the MDE is around 9%. So you definitely know that you have to have an uplift in conversion rates of something between 9 and 10% to make it reliable. And the rule here basically is longer tests allow for smaller uplifts to be statistically significant. So the more data you collect, the more visitors you have on your test, the smaller the uplift can be to really give you a reliable result. And once the test has been running for a while, we can see some uplift maybe, and it's time to check if we've reached this statistical significance. And we are using actually the same tool for this. And this corresponds to the other tab, which you see here, the test analysis. So let's assume that we see a 10% uplift in CTA clicks in version B after 12 days. And then I might have 5,000 visitors in each of the two groups. And in the control group, in my original version, in my baseline, I generated 1,000 conversions, while in the variant, I got 1,100 conversions. So in the end, I have a 10% uplift. It will also calculate this, but in my example, it's not that difficult. So, but it's more importantly that the tool tells me whether I need more time to generate this result with statistical significance and more confidence. In this case, I run the test for exactly the right amount of time, because you can see here, additional days needed is 0. Perfect. So I have a test that has a statistical significance reached, and now I can go back and either roll out my variant to all of my users, or if I'm not happy with the result, I can go back to the baseline and start a new test. So that's pretty awesome. And you can really remove the guesswork with these kind of tools. Also with Heyflow, by the way, but this is something that Connor is going to show you later. And of course, something that we always have to keep in mind, even with a solid analysis, common testing mistakes can lead to misleading insights or wasted effort. So to make sure that your A/B tests drive real improvements, we will go over some of the biggest pitfalls to avoid. The first thing, the tracking issues are the #1 reasons tests fail. So, for example, if visitors see both versions or variation, or something breaks on mobile, and the data just becomes unreliable. So always preview, always double check your tracking, and always make sure everything is set up the correct way before launching. The other thing, testing too many things at once. As I said, we all want quick results and we want to see them yesterday, but we really have to be careful with what we test and how we test it. So making multiple changes like headline and button and maybe even the layout, it makes absolutely no sense, because you will not be able to know what actually drove the result. So keep it simple, test one change at a time for clear insights. And then stopping the test too early. Again, this is us being impatient, but short tests often lead to misleading conclusions because, for example, you see a 1 day spike, but it doesn't really mean that the new version is a winner. So allow the test to run long enough to gather reliable data. Which brings me to ignoring statistical significance. So even if you have a 20% increase, it doesn't really matter if your sample size is too small. Always ensure your result is getting reliable data, is running for a long enough time to show some valuable minimum detectable effect. And last but not least, bad timing. External factors like seasonality, holidays, or any other promotions that you're running on the side, can skew your test results. So running a test during an unusual traffic period can lead to misleading conclusions. So make sure that you aim for a stable time frame and just pause the test if unexpected factors interfere. Right, now we've talked about how to set up a solid A/B test, and now let's see it in action. So Connor will show us now how all of this can work in Heyflow, and I'm super excited to hand it over.
Thanks, Sarah. Lots of really cool and practical tips, but it's a lot to manage, right? There's so much going on when it comes to A/B testing. So at Heyflow, we really want to try and own some of that, simplify it for you, make it easier to achieve higher conversion. That in the end is what we're aiming for, and we see that customers who are really active with A/B tests, who have a little bit of knowledge, and then also apply it to our platform, are able to improve their results. So we believe it's a pretty cool tool, and we hope you have the opportunity to test it out and can start to generate some value from it. But before we really dive into what it looks like in Heyflow, I need to set a bit of context. So let's imagine I'm a small business owner, and I'm maybe an optician, and I've had a pretty successful on-premise business, but I'm expanding. I'm moving into digital marketing. I want to create some leads online and generate more money. But online marketing is hard. And while Heyflow is really helpful, it's a tool that's helped me to actually gather high quality leads. It's still not always super easy to find out why people are leaving, why people aren't completing the flow, why they aren't signing up for a consultation. So while that, I've started all this, I'm trying to actually improve my conversion. I come up with the idea, hey, why don't I test a few different value propositions on my landing page? I've identified that the landing page actually has really high drop-off rate. So how about using that as an opportunity to actually improve conversion? If I can improve conversion, or sorry, drop-off rate of the landing page specifically, given that it has such a high percentage of your overall drop-off, that will lead to better conversion. So let me share my screen, and we'll show you a few different scenarios. So here's my flow. Book your free eye consultation today. This has been set up. It's been running fairly well. But like I said, I've already identified that I'm losing a lot of visitors on this page. So what can I actually do to improve that? Well, first, I got to start my A/B test. So up here on the right-hand side, we actually have that button to kick that process off. Now, once you start this, it will bring you through a little bit of an onboarding flow to show you exactly how to set up your baseline and variant, but I'm going to skip through that right now as we're going to talk through it step by step. So after starting or creating your A/B test, you now have directly the variant to start editing. You have the baseline, which will be your original version, and your variant is a carbon copy of that flow. Here, I'm going to update this value proposition that's on the front and center of my landing page. Right now, we really focus on the fact that this is a free eye consultation, but it's not really differentiating us against our competition. So after doing a little bit of user research and talking to my customers, I realized there was a few different things that might move the needle and might help them to click through. I could add a sense of urgency. I could say that there's actually limited slots available, and if they click through, they're guaranteed to get a place. I could emphasize it's an easy process. It's not going to add a lot of friction, just a few steps. These, by the way, are things that we see our customers test, and they do lead to good results. But what we're going to go with today is we're going to emphasize the benefit. For every customer I talked to, everyone who joined the eye consultation, they all said their main goal is to improve their eyesight, to either get new glasses or to move away from glasses altogether. So we're going to use that, and we're going to say, see clearly is your value proposition. So that simple change is now ready for my A/B test. And this is the only thing that we're going to change in this test. As Sarah said, it's really good to keep some of these changes nice and small and to isolate changes. So we won't make any other changes to our flow. And that's it. We're already ready to start. So when I go to start that A/B test, I will be given one last kind of question that I need to figure out, which is to what distribution should we launch this A/B test? And as Sarah said, for high risk changes, we might want to make sure that the baseline stays with the majority of the traffic. But in this case, I'm actually going to launch with a 50-50 split. And that's it. I've just started my A/B test. It's going to publish my flow. And now, as soon as the publishing process finishes, when visitors come to my website and they see this landing page, they're already going to be served either the baseline and the variant at a 50-50 split. So this is set up and ready to go. That's our first example that we wanted to show you today. But what is actually also really, really interesting is to see a few different types of A/B tests that you can actually set up. So in our second test, we're going to focus on the other big elephant in the room, which is the contact page. The contact page always is the second highest drop-off rate on your flow. Landing page, is really hard to actually get those users motivated to click through and to start inputting information. But after you've gained their attention and you've actually started to see interest from your visitors, the last question before submission, it's scary. We're asking for a lot of information here. First name, last name, email address, and phone number, as well as agreeing to the terms and conditions. So even though this flow is actually following what we would define as UX best practices, the layout is really clear, it's really simple, I understand what information I have to provide, it's still quite overwhelming for visitors. So what some of our customers have found a lot of success in is separating this type of form into multiple screens. So I've already created this in my variant. So if I move over there now and open up the name screen, I'm first asking for just a little bit of information. And this helps reduce a little bit of anxiety and move us towards incremental gains when it comes to conversion. So if we lose a few fewer customers here, then that is going to be a net positive outcome for our conversion rate. So I'm going to add in my name, and over to the next screen, we have a nice touch of personalization. Nice to meet you, Connor. Now we start asking for a little more information under email address and phone number. Because this is a slightly riskier change, I'm not going to roll this out to 50-50. I actually, I've been pretty happy with my conversion rate so far, and the baseline is performing well. So when I go to publish in this case, excuse me, I should have actually started the A/B test. When I go to start the A/B test, I'm going to choose 90% for the baseline to ensure that we actually de-risk this project. So to demonstrate that, we have the baseline here. We hit 90%, 10% on the variant, and we launch to a 90-10 split. That's our second demo that we wanted to show you, but that's just creation of the A/B test. That's just setting up these tests. The hard work often is under analyzing. So on the third screen, that will be my final screen to show you today, I want to show you off the analytics dashboard. Now, you are all familiar with the analytics dashboard today. The main difference that we add when you have an active A/B test is to insert a banner at the top, which is your guiding star for whether the test is successful or not. And then we add the baseline and variant information into every metric that you have on the dashboard. So you see the visit, submits, time to complete, and how it compares across the baseline and variant. This is a lot of data. And even if I look at the screens, there's a lot of numbers to compare. We can look at the screen views, we can look at the screen exits, compare it from the baseline to the variant. It's very overwhelming, and it's very difficult to actually decide and understand and analyze what is the better performing result. So what we've introduced is a winner significance calculator. This uses something called Bayesian statistics. It's included in the tool that Sarah mentioned, but it's a little different to the frequentist analytics that we've been talking about so far. But as you open up your results here, we see that the variant has actually won. So there's three states that we introduced into the analytics dashboard. The first is collecting data. The second is you found an emerging winner. It's starting to look like it could be the best version. And the final variant is that there is a winner. In this case, the variant has won. We calculate this, as I said, with Bayesian statistics, but we calculate it by using your end conversion rate from the total number of visits and submits that have been kind of gathered through your flow. And then we put that through the statistics model to determine which is the most likely to produce the best result. I just encourage you all to read up on Bayesian statistics. It's very, very interesting. The main difference between frequentist statistics is that it allows you to have a learning from all the data that you gather. So as you start to gather more data, you start to gain a clearer picture on what the end outcome is. And in the end, frequentist and Bayesian statistics come to the same conclusion in 99% of outcomes. So yeah, the last thing is to actually publish my winner. So I've looked at the data. I've seen that the variant is actually performing really, really well. It has a bit over a 1% increase in the net conversion. Even though it had fewer visits, it's performing better. So I'm going to finish my A/B test. I'm going to make the variant the new baseline. And now this will publish and replace your online version so that it will update to use the variant going forward.